Police here have to tiptoe, good Lord. We afraid to mash you on, cause you're in waiting like Mako to the show. Distance longer and gone when you sleep at night time. Police up, we fighting crime. Yes, yet in your crew, kind of mind, you say police wasting time. Now the police keeping you fit. We ever present on the streets. Still you say upstairs the worst. We only harassing women and boss. You used to. Good morning to your wonderful listeners of Real FM 91.9. And as usual, it is the conversation with the RGPF. And it is another Wednesday morning. Thank God for that opportunity to be in the land of the living, where we can be speaking with each other and not about each other. Whenever you hear the voice of Keturah George and police brutality, you know it is the conversation with the RGPF. My society brutal. So I am your humble servant, Corporal 85 Jessel Grant, attached to the Community Relation Department and the Eastern Division. And for the past few Wednesdays, because of other program schedules, we were unable to be live and to have a program. However, we are here in studio this morning, and I think that is important. I have a guest in studio with me this morning, and that is none other than Constable Dibelot, who is second in charge of the traffic department at the Grenville Police Station. And we will be speaking to you on a very important and typical topic this morning, considering the fact that we are going into the Easter season and having realized accidents, the frequencies of motor vehicle accidents, we thought it was important and imperative that we remind you drivers, motorists, and road users as to the importance of being safe. However, we want to look at this morning how an accident is being investigated from the time the information reaches the police officer up until its time of disposal, be it at the magistrate court or when the parties decide to take some settlement or insurance debit. So we're going to utilize as much as the program that time within the program that we can to ensure that useful information is disseminated to you, our listeners. So good morning to you, Constable Dibelot, and how are you?
Good morning to you, Corporal, and good morning to the listening audience of the Real FM 91.5. I'm very good this morning. I'm feeling proud to be part of the program this morning and to deal with that issue of accident.
All right, so grateful. So listeners, there you heard it from Constable Dibelot. He has been senior traffic accident. But before we delve into the topic, let me just give you a few reminders. Last Saturday, the Grenville Police Station had a mobile police station at Maribor Pasture, where officers were there to interact and engage with you, the community members, just in the event that there was an issue or something of the sort that you needed to interact with the police with. It's a new initiative taken by the Eastern Division, and that will be continuing this week. And this Saturday, we will be at the Subi's Housing Scheme, otherwise known as the Chinese Hill. So anyone who is wondering where Miss is talking about, just to give you some exact. So our mobile station this Saturday will be within the Subi's Housing Scheme vicinity. So persons who have issues that you think you want to bring to the attention of the police, whether it is information, whether it is a situation that you want the police to respond to and maybe never had the time to come to the station, or probably just to seek some clarification, feel free to interact and engage with the officers as they come along. And happy am I to say at this time, in a matter of 45 minutes, the Grenville Police Station CAB, which is a citizen advisory body, they are spearheading a presentation to the officers within the Eastern Division, which is taking place at the Grenville Police Station on psychological first aid. Now, the Citizen Advisory Body is a group that is initiated by the police, but it is basically engineered by civilians, you're the members of the community, to help us as police better serve the community. And in that light, the group or the citizen advisory body normally criticize the police or in a positive light, or be like a watchdog, or partner with us to better serve our community. And they had done other initiatives whereby for the last two Christmas that passed, they did hampers distribution. And last Christmas, they had an initiative where they fed the desolate within the town of Grenville. However, this morning they are placing emphasis and focus on the police officers and providing them with training from specialized persons. I am ever so grateful to speak of that because whenever the community and the police work together, it is an added plus for society. So I just thought it was important that I share that bit of information before we delve into the program, because time always slips by. It is indeed a privilege to be in studio. So as I said, we are discussing this morning as it regards to traffic accidents. Now, and we're going to look at management of traffic accidents. Because time and time constantly develop. You hear persons saying, well, a man bumps me, I didn't report it because he agree. He give me contact and he tell me he will settle me. And time passed by, as a result, they don't come to the police. Time passed by and that man didn't settle, that man didn't compensate. And then they come to you as the officer and want you to work wonders. But as with every other thing, there is what is called statute bar or statute of limitation, or the matter expire, and there is nothing else to do. So before we go down into knowing what is an accident, what should I do? Tell me.
All right. It is very important that we know, first of all, what is an accident. We will know what it means by the road, public road.
Right.
And many a times, persons have a lot of issues on the road, and they may come to the police and they may think that it's an accident or something of sort, and they may expect us to do the investigation and so forth. But we will look at this morning what is really an accident, motor vehicle accident. We hear about different type of accidents. For instance, if someone should skate on a wall and fall, we say they accidentally fall. But we're not looking at these types of accident this morning. We're looking at motor vehicle accident.
Right.
Okay. So with the definition we have for an accident, we may have many people may have different definition for motor vehicle accident, but we have come up with one this morning based on the requirements of the law and so forth. We decided to look at a collision involving one or more than one vehicle, resulting in damage, injury, or death.
Right.
So we could look at that one as the first definition for accident: collision involving one or more motor vehicles, resulting in damage, injuries, or death. Another person defined accident, motor vehicle accident, as unintentional damage or injury caused by the movement of a motor vehicle or its load. Okay, so when we say this one, we could look at and say the contents of the vehicle, for instance, the load that it carries. If there was an injury, damage it should cause as a result of the motion of that motor vehicle and its contents, this could be defined as a motor vehicle accident also.
So may I interject here, Constable?
Yes.
Let's say a truck is passing with bamboo on it, and because they prepare for the king, and the tail end, as he take that corner or swung away from another vehicle, hits a vehicle or person nearby, would that be considered a motor
Right.
vehicle?
Yes, definitely, because as we say, it's defined unintentional damage or injury caused by the movement of that vehicle or its load.
Okay.
So the load therefore become part of that vehicle, because the vehicle is designed to carry a certain amount of load, and so therefore the load is become part of the motor vehicle at the time.
So even if it's not intentional, because it becomes part of the vehicle, it is now an accident.
Right.
Great.
And we must stress on the unintentional damage. So we look at the definition. We have the collision, but I love this one. the collision involving one or more motor vehicle resulting in damage, injury, or death.
Right.
Because well, we would have a collision between one vehicle and not two vehicles.
Right.
For instance, someone run off the road and collide with a bridge, a lamp pole, or something. So this is a collision involving one motor vehicle, and they must be resulting in damage, injury, or death. So let's say, for instance, there is a collision, how minor it is, and there is no damage, no injuries, or death. We'll consider this would not be considered as a motor vehicle accident,
Right.
because there is no injury, no damage, or death.
Right.
So there must be injury to persons or damage to
Property.
the vehicle or other personal property as a result of the movements of that motor vehicle to be considered as a motor vehicle accident.
Understand.
Right. Let's look at now road, because as we say, an accident must occur on a road.
Right.
If there is an accident in the sky, we will not consider it as a motor vehicle accident. Definitely, the one involving in the sea, we will not consider that as a motor vehicle accident, because there is accidents occur different places. So, motor vehicle accident must be occurred on our road, and we have the road as been defined under the Road Traffic Act as any road, street, bridge, or public space. Includes any privately owned road, space to which the public are granted access, whether temporary or permanently.
Right.
So we could elaborate on this a little.
Definitely.
Yes. Any public road, definitely that one is understood. When you're going down Mali public road, whatever public,
So wherever you
consider a road, government road.
Right.
Any street. So we could name the street because there was street name, for instance, High Street, and so forth. In South Wales, Grenville will have Jubilee Street, Ben Jones Street, and so on.
Right.
So any street considered to be the road. Any bridge, for instance, you may have a bridge over a river. This would consider to be a bridge, like Paradise Bridge. So you wouldn't say Paradise Road if there is something accident occur on the bridge.
Right.
You say on Paradise Bridge. So you know bridge is considered to be the public road. Public space. And we will look at the public space, meaning therefore a playing field.
Right. Right.
So if there is a motor vehicle accident on a playing field, or you will have
Pathway, for example,
right pathway
road.
of the road on it, and public space
Right.
is considered to be road. Private road, you will have a driveway leading to your house. You may have a gate in front, but that's your private property. But you grant the access to the public. You may have a function at your home,
Right.
and the public have been granted access to attend that function.
Oh,
Should a motor vehicle accident occur on that road, it's considered to be a road. It's considered to be a road under the Road Traffic Act. So
right.
that is privately owned road. Once the public have been granted access, temporary or permanent,
Right. So temporary could be just for that activity.
just for the
Right.
activity. So
And permanent, maybe somebody has
you always have
and you
regular
allow
activities.
persons to traverse it,
Right.
even if. So like someone have a piece of land both sides of the road, but there is a road between and person uses it, whether it's for the beach purpose or whatever. It's a
Right.
permanent activity.
Definitely. So it's
Grateful
it
for
is.
that. Girl.
So under the Road Traffic Act, these street, bridge, public, privately owned road, space to which the public have granted access is considered to be the road under the Road Traffic Act.
Right.
So we may say public road or private road. Wherever the accident, the motor vehicle accident occur, we could use that definition on St. John Public Road. We could use maybe it's an open space, and the accident happened at an open space or privately owned road.
Right.
Okay. So we have should a mango fall from a tree and damage a vehicle? Would we consider that to be an accident? Mango fall from a tree, damage windscreen of a motor vehicle. Would we consider to be an accident? Yes, this would consider to be an accident because there is a collision involving a motor vehicle, whereby damage is caused, the
Right.
windscreen might be broken, dent, and so forth. So once damage is caused as a result of a collision, and the collision is not just meaning that a motor vehicle bonks something.
Right.
Something bonks
Bongs you.
once the motor vehicle is in motion and so forth. We consider to be a
So-
motor vehicle accident.
So what is likely to happen? How would you direct someone if they say, well, I was driving through Paradise and I'm on the phone and my screen is broken?
Right. It's not all of the accident cases that there may be an offense.
Okay.
There may not be an offense involving a motor vehicle accident because as a result of motor vehicle accident, there are offenses that would cause that accident. For instance, we have driving with due care and attention, so that the onus now is on the driver at the time. We have reckless driving, dangerous driving, even driving without reasonable consideration for other persons using the road.
Right.
So these are offenses resulting from accident. Okay, so let's say, for instance, that we use that example, coconut fall and damage a windscreen. The driver may not be charged for driving without due care and attention, but that is a motor vehicle accident that's considered under the law. And in terms of the accident, everybody will be looking for some form of compensation, even because that's why we pay insurance.
Right.
So we pay insurance for the risk that existing damage in other results to get compensation. So we will go on now that accident must be, there are a few things that persons should know should you involve in an accident on any road. And it is not just to know, but it's requirements from the Road Traffic Act that persons should know what to do should you have
An accident.
an accident. Okay.
So before you go into what they should do, I hear a listener saying, but should I put onto a mango fall on my screen while nobody threw it, fell on its own free will? What should I do? Are you requiring that person of that driver owner to make a report to the traffic department, or just say, well, an accident, nobody did it, I stand my losses? What should I
Right.
do?
So that's the point I'm coming to now. There are a few requirements under the Road Traffic Act
Okay.
that you should do having resulted from an accident, you involve in an accident. And I will just look at it one by one.
Right.
Okay. So the law requirements, the Road Traffic Act, 2010 Road Traffic Act, that's he laid down some requirements that person involved in an accident was to do. And Section 75 says a person riding, driving, or in charge of any vehicle of any description shall, if owing to the presence of that vehicle on any road, and we describe what road is, an accident occur, we describe what is an accident, whereby injury is caused or any personal damage is caused to any vehicle, they should, one, immediately stop. So, if that doesn't happen, that's an offense. According to the Road Traffic Act, they should first immediately stop. Secondly, and it not necessarily has to be step by step, but the law just laid down the requirements what you should do. Right. If required to do so by any person having reasonable grounds for requiring, give his name and address, that's one, the registration number of the vehicle, the name and address of the owner of the vehicle, the name of the insurance company to which the vehicle is insured, the name of the person, the name of all persons in the vehicle at the time of the accident.
Right.
So they should immediately stop. And if someone have reasonable grounds for obtaining such information, as I just did, or the names of the insurance company, they definitely has to provide that information. And C, 75C says they should report the accident at a police station as soon as reasonably practicable, but before the expiration of a period of 24 hours. So in short, they have 24 hours to report the accident. But we look at reasonable practicable. Should an accident occur on a road and then you pass a police station and to move on, and say I have 24 hours to report that accident? And then just on the 23rd hour, you show up at that said police station to report the accident.
Mhm.
Will we consider to be reasonable practicable?
Right.
I would say no,
Mhm.
because the law says as reasonable practicable, you're passing in from the police station, you report an accident, or you can make a phone call.
So in
I
short,
definitely.
even if you have 24 hours to do so, they want you to do it soonest
Yeah,
within that 24
as soon as, because they maybe have, as we say, persons may have interest in that vehicle to require certain information and so forth.
Right.
Okay, so persons must be knowledgeable, as we have that program now to inform the public that there are some requirements or some steps that they should be taken should they involve in a motor vehicle accident.
Mhm.
Right. So we look at the requirements under Section 75 of the Road Traffic Act,
Okay.
what
So-
they should do.
So listeners, we'll just take a quick break and we'll be right back with the conversation with the RGPF.
Police can't have to tiptoe, but Lord, we friends don't pass your corner. Cause you're day and waiting like my hope to the show. This name's on up and strong when you sleep at night time. Police up, we fighting crime. Yes, yet in your crew can you say police wasting time. No, police keeping you fit. Be careful presence on the streets.
So yes, listeners, we are still in studio and bear in mind we are discussing the topic of traffic accident management. And in studio with me is Constable Dibolat. And the information disseminated is very much pertinent. It is important because many a time accidents occur and persons do not report it because, as I said at the intro, they felt, well, he give me a name, she give me she number, she says she wrong, and I will settle. But when you bring the bill, after that, you can't get them on the number, you don't know the name, or you got false name. So hence the reason you need to know what the law says to best protect yourself. And before we took the break, Constable Dibolat was just giving you some guidance as to what should happen when you have a situation of an accident occurring. So he told you that you need to immediately stop. You need to having one of the persons involved ask you for your contact, your insurance, your vehicle number. These are things that you need to provide. And additionally, you need to report that accident within 24 hours, but in a practicable time, as soon as
Very.
within the 24 hours. All right? So let's just have summary for those of you who is now joining us and wondering, what are they talking about this morning? We look at what was a road, what's an accident, and what should I do with an accident? Regardless of how you think or what you think an accident is, what should I do as a driver or a road user and I am engaged in an accident, what should I do? So yes, Constable Dibolat, you wanted to enlighten us on what immediately stop is according to the
Yes, as you were saying, you must immediately stop. And what does immediately stop mean? Because you may involve in an accident and it might just be reflect action, what happened. Sometimes you can't even stop. You'll run off the road. You will end up miles, sometimes even miles away.
Right.
in shock. It do happen.
Yes.
Because people are involved in accident and they never stop until maybe they reach home. And then they realize they had an accident. And so, because sometimes in shocks, when people are in shock, they do a lot of different things.
Right.
Right. So immediately stop, meaning that driver should stop and remain where he or she stopped for such a period of time. And in that circumstance, we provide the sufficient period of time to enable person who have reasonable grounds for doing so to require the name and address. So it means therefore that at the time of the collision or the impact, the first stop you make would consider the immediate stop,
Right.
the first stop after the collision. So what you should do at the first stop you make after the collision, you should remain there in that position. And if, for example, someone now requires the information, as we say, the name of the driver, the registration number, insurance for the vehicle, and and so forth, you ought to provide that information to the person having reasonable grounds for obtaining that.
Right.
And who will say have the reasonable grounds for obtaining such information? For instance, we say persons, the driver of another motor vehicle, maybe that was involved in the accident.
Right.
These are the person who would have reasonable grounds. Any injured person, as a result of that accident would have reasonable grounds for obtaining such information.
Right.
The owner of any property that was involved, or the owner of any vehicle. So the driver may not be the owner, but the owner appears on the scene. This will consider the person having reasonable grounds
Right.
to obtaining such information. Or maybe the next of kin of the person and so forth representing them. So, and as we say, these are, if you fail to give this information to the person having reasonable grounds for obtaining it, you commit an offense. You could be charged for failing to give insurance name and so forth, having involved in a motor vehicle accident.
Wow.
So, as we say, the immediate stop would be the first stop you make after that collision. We look at some of the offenses resulting in accident, and most of the time you hear of that offense, driving without due care and attention. And section 57.1 is that section for charging driving without due care and attention, section 57.1. And it says a person who drives a motor vehicle without due care and attention commits an offense. But then what is due care and attention? What is really due care and attention? So after we have the police may be called to the accident scene, the police may come and take all the information surrounding that accident. We're not coming to charge any person on the accident scene. The appearance of the police on the accident scene is to collect or to gather all the information surrounding that accident. So all the information may include witnesses, persons who saw what happened,
Right.
even persons who have prior knowledge of that, the conduct of maybe a particular driver hours before the accident. You know, they might be engaged in some other activities, and maybe as a result of that activity, they may maybe get haste or just move out in a reckless manner and so forth, and then later on you have the order of an accident involving that vehicle. And most of the time you hear people say, I know they're involved in that accident.
Yes.
These are critical issues in terms of the information that we are gathering on the scene of accident. And this will determine sometimes the conduct of the driver on the road at the particular time. So we say the due care and attention, meaning the standard of driving fall below what is expected of a reasonable and prudent driver. This will consider as driving with due care and attention. So if not what a normal person would do in driving, if that person didn't take that step, the normal step, in the manner in which they are driving, we consider to be driving without due care and attention. For instance, for example, if there is a pothole in the road and you just swing off from the pothole and maybe end up on a bridge on the side, collision with a bridge, that's going to be considered as driving without due care and attention. Another example, if you know there is a school crossing close to you and maybe you pay no heed even to slow down at the crossing, and then you may collide with a pedestrian and so forth. In that circumstances, you could classify it as driving without due care and attention, because normally it wouldn't be that normal driving as a normal person would do. So that will fall below the standard as expected by a reasonable and prudent driver. We have some other offenses, but this would be considered more in the more serious accident. And the accidents are in classified in three categories: motor vehicle accident. We have the minor accident, as we see, where minor injuries or damages is caused as a result of that collision. We consider to be a minor accident. A serious accident would consider where there is major damage to a motor vehicle or person's property, or there are severe injuries to any persons resulting in that collision. So once you have serious injuries or major damages to any property or motor vehicle. This we consider to be a serious accident. They may not be a serious injury, and you may have major damage. For instance, you will have, let's say, a minibus would, because of its speed,
Right.
it goes down to a precipice,
Mhm.
and everybody from that bus get a little scratch.
Mhm.
Would we consider that to be a serious accident or not? Yes, this was considered to be a serious accident because maybe the damages to the vehicle which shows the nature. The damages will show the nature of the accident in terms of you may have the vehicle totally wrecked, you may have the windscreen or the
Windows.
whole complete front of that vehicle
Right.
damaged. So we consider that to be major damages as a result of the accident, although we may have just minor injuries, but it's considered to be a serious accident. Even something we have to look at again, the risk that is involved.
Mhm.
Sometimes, the risk that was involved in that accident now can classify it to be a serious accident
Okay.
because there was a risk of persons having serious injuries, although there was injury, but there was a risk of having serious injury. And therefore, the other offenses now, such as dangerous driving or reckless driving, and that's where the risk comes in.
Right.
So this might be another topic for itself in terms of the dangerous driving and reckless driving, because there is a whole issue to elaborate, and you have to take into consideration much more much more evidence, or you say, because you have to deal with the nature of the road, the speed of the motor vehicle, what is expected to be on the road at the time of the accident. So a lot of more consideration much more investigation has to go out in terms of the dangerous driving and the reckless
I
driving.
want to ask this question. Most times an accident occurs and the officers visit the scene, they come and ask questions to the layman or the driver that seems or believe it's irrelevant. Is there any witnesses? Anybody injured? Or make a call to say that there's a motor vehicle accident? And these are questions. How relevant is that information for you, the investigator, wanting to obtain such information? Or why is that the first question asked having arrived on the scene of an accident?
Well, as we said, the officer on the scene of the accident is there to gather all information that is important to him, all the information surrounding that accident.
Mhm.
So, persons, they might just be a bystander and they might just having to hear the noise from, sometimes they didn't see the collision itself,
Right.
but they might just hear something, a noise from that motor vehicle and so. So these are information based on the noise they hear. You could determine maybe there was a tire blow off or something fallen from the vehicle.
Right.
So that would help you determine in terms of when you're gathering all the information to determine the actual cause of the accident. And sometimes the cause of the accident is not it's really solely upon the driver at the time.
Mhm.
There may be a lot of things that would cause an accident, and the driver may be acting in reflex
Right.
because of that condition may involve an accident.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's not at fault
Right.
because he was just reacting based on what is the
Mechanical
circumstance.
issues or-
Yes, maybe mechanical issues, maybe because of something in the road. For instance, you may have to make a abrupt stop to save someone's life,
Right.
to having to save from colliding with a pedestrian. And let's say somebody at the time run into the back of your vehicle just by the immediate stop you make. So you see, we have to look at all the circumstances surrounding the collision, I would say the accident. And it not definitely mean that because you bounce from the back, you are definitely wrong.
Yeah.
A lot of times we go with that concept that once you bounce from behind, you're wrong. But what if the person in front was reversing? They bounce from behind.
Right.
Would the one behind the person wrong? So a lot of times we comes up with our own concept of accident, but the proper thing is to gather all the information surrounding that and then you will determine maybe who might be at fault. And therefore, that's why we prefer charges sometimes to either one person or two persons sometimes could be at fault in an accident. The two drivers might be at fault. So once we determine that an offense has been committed, such as driving without due care and attention, reckless driving, dangerous driving, then we may prefer charges against persons involved in an accident. But it's not all the time that accidents occur and you may have offenses committed.
Yes.
So it is advised that they should report the accident to the police. And it's because it's requirement of the law. And most of the time, the insurance company sometimes do the compensation and so forth. And they will require a police report. They will require a police report concerning that accident and for their own investigation or to provide some form of compensation to persons. So if you fail to report it to the police, we will have no information to provide to the insurance, and you know what happens then.
No compensation. I just wanted to ask that question. There had been an accident. There are fatalities. Well, no, not fatalities. Injuries to person. But the police responded and decided not to move the individual, but instead await the ambulance to do so. Is there anything that, as officers, you work with in doing that, or is that at the discretion of the responding officer?
Well, firstly, I would advise that if you're not trained in that particular field to deal with emergency or injuries, emergencies, I think if you're not trained in that field, you should not attempt to do anything to an injured person, because as we know, sometimes you may cause more harm to the person that has really injured. You might create some discomfort and cause some internal, anything internal. So because we don't know what happened, you will just see somebody and you don't know what happened, if they got any broken bones and so forth. So it's advised that if you're not trained in that particular field, you should not attempt to interfere with it. There are a few trained persons who may require to render first aid. So you have to be a first aid person who trained in first aid to render this assistance to persons. So it's always advised that you get the assistance from the trained person, even if you have to wait on the ambulance. These are the persons that come in that are trained to deal with this particular injury at the time.
Right. I'm happy that you gave that clarification or use that method, because oftentimes you hear persons say, well, the police come and the man right on the ground, we have to look at the condition, and with all of the explicit as to why the police didn't move that individual having been injured. But as you rightly say, if you're not trained to leave it alone, maybe the best thing to do is just to keep that person talking, keep that person assertive, just the communication that they don't block out on you, than to go and try to move. And that also goes out to members of the public, not just the police officer responding, but members of the public. Since you watch a collision, you have an idea as to the kind of injury persons could receive. And hence, you ought to be careful. If you're not trained, the best advice to give is to seek help. Call, make a phone call, seek help as to how best that person can get first aid or medical assistance, and you're trying to give help and cause further injury to that individual. I remember a time I responded to an accident in Carriacou, and it was a Caucasian woman. And one man just said to me, ask her if I could touch her. And her question to me was, are you a certified, not if you know first aid, are you a certified first aider? I said, no. She said, well, leave me here.
Oh, yes.
And since then, I advocate to my colleagues, when you're responding, please do not just go touching, because some persons, it can end up backfiring on you. So I'm happy for that aspect that you took. You're not trained, you're not a qualified person in the field. Seek help as opposed to wanting to go and touch. Yes, you may want to give help. The best help you could give is voice commands. If you know the individual name, you call them by their name and just keep them interactive until first aid help come, as opposed to wanting to physically touch that individual.
And I must say that if there is extreme emergency case, for instance, and that you will, even if you're not trained. Let's say someone involved in an accident and you realize a fire might be starting
Right.
from that motor vehicle. Whether you're trained or not, the first thing you have to do is to remove that person from that position. So what we will say is safety first for that person. So based on the surrounding, if there is that extreme emergency where you have to move that person from the location, then you have to do it. Whether you're trained or not.
And that would be life over.
Life over injury. So there may be a fire or something if someone the vehicle go into a river and then might have other cases. So then you'll have to move that person, whether they get injured or not. You'll have to definitely move them to safety.
All right, listeners, we take a brief. It's our last 10 minutes into the program. We're taking a brief break again, and we'll be back with the conversation with the RGPF.
Police walking on eggshells for you. We never get it right. It's not just the criminals, but society gives the biggest price. Unwarranted slander we endure every day. You say police is police just for the government's pay. Oh gosh, I put you before my family. With my life I protect you daily, but before I make a law, you're ready to hand this to a daddy law. Remember when they killed Renty, you said I'm police too jockey. No man fights with police and dead. You say the force is when killers are bred. So when I hear you complaining,
Listeners, as usual, you know Mr. Dana. So I just took a little break to get my guest, to be back for the last final minute. And Mr. Donald had me cracking up. I can't repeat what he said, but good morning to all of my colleagues who are tuned in. And as usual, we are trying to do our best because the community and the police have to work together, like it or not. It's not in every situation you get the best outcome of what you really acquire. But regardless to what, we bite our tongue every day and they're within the same chamber. So there are times we have issues. Good morning to you, Francois, Yolanda, Claire, Francois, Joseph. Good morning. Pleasure. Happy to know. Call others, and then they also tune into the program, not only on a Wednesday with the conversation, but every day, Real FM. It is our local studio. It is our country studio that reaches far and wide and assists in disseminating pertinent information to our listeners. So as usual, that 1 hour flies, and I know Jogo is saying, Ms. Grant, I have cricket to bring on straight. So we're not going to go beyond. We're going to stop short. So what I'm going to do at this stage is to allow Councillor Dibala to wrap up the program and leave you with that final bullet that he wants you to. Because please, listeners, really and truly, when you look at our accident statistics, when you look at our accident figures, it is way too much. The expense, the discomfort that it brings. And if only we do what the average person would do by being cautious and driving with due consideration for other road users, we would eliminate the amount of accidents that we have on our day-to-day streets and roads. And also remember that was a take home for me, when even your private space, the fact that you are allowing or granting access to members of the public, and an accident where you can't say that is my yard. The public is involved. It now become a public space or public road. Bear that in mind and let us be cautious. So, Councillor Dibala, we just under 5 minutes, just do a wrap up for all listeners.
Just before one thing I wanted to look at, maybe I didn't share it earlier on.
That's okay.
We look at a reasonable consideration for other persons in the road.
Right.
There may not be a collision, so it may not be considered as an accident, but I would like to just spend 1 minute to elaborate. For instance, you have potholes and rain is pouring on, and that after the rain stops, there may be water settling and so forth in that hole. And by your conduct of driving, persons or children might be walking maybe on the sidewalk. And we have a few of that complaints coming in. Whereby driver just into the pothole and splash water, spill water all over, even to wet persons that passing and so forth. This could be considered as you not having consideration for other persons using the road, because the road users involve the pedestrian, the motor vehicles, animals, and so forth. The road are constructed for the use for everybody. Pedestrian. There may be sidewalks for the pedestrian to walk. If there is no sidewalk, then obviously you'll have to walk on the side of the road. So the person that driving should pay particular attention to potholes. And we look at another one again, for instance, at night, drivers failing deep headlights and so forth. If by the conduct of you not deep in your headlight at night, and in that driving there, you may cause some inconsideration for other persons, for someone using road. For instance, you might have an elderly walking on the road and you fail to dip that light, and maybe as a result, they may fall into some drain or maybe cause damage to some injuries may cause. This could be because of your conduct on the road. This could be as you fail to have reasonable consideration for the other persons using the road. So all these are offenses under the Road Traffic Act, Section 57 of the Road Traffic Act. So Section 57 deals with driving without due care and attention and also driving without reasonable consideration. So if there is no collision and the inconsiderate driving that you do cause someone maybe to harm themselves because of your conduct, you could be charged for driving without reasonable consideration
Quick
for
question.
somebody using your other persons.
Does that
Yes.
mean that a person will be arrested, summoned, or ticketed? For
Well,
this offense?
this is not arrestable offense, but should we have the complaint? Should we get the complaint in the station? We'll carry the investigation. We'll speak to the driver, get statement from the driver. There may be weaknesses and so forth, and the conduct, maybe based on the conduct of the person driving, there may be charges for not due care and attention, but reasonable consideration.
Okay.
I just wanted to share that.
Very
So
good.
as we looked at earlier on, we looked at what is an accident, and we say what accident is. We looked at what someone should do having involving accidents on public road. We look at road, what is road? We say any space, any bridge, any public road we consider to be a road. We say accident is collision involving one or more than one vehicle at a time, and may involve where there is damage or personal injury. So if there is no damage, no injury, cannot be considered as an accident. Cannot be considered as a motor vehicle accident, sorry. It may have be an accident, but for a motor vehicle accident, there must be some form of damage, injury, or death involved as a result of your motor vehicle on the road. And most importantly, as we said, as we're wrapping up, what persons should do having involved in an accident? And first of all, as we said, they should be immediately stopped. If required by person to have the names, the name of the insurance company, the registration number of the vehicle, names of all persons in the vehicle, and what else? The name and address of the owner, said that the registration number, the name of the driver of the motor vehicle. If you fail to give this information to the persons having reasonable grounds, we say that's an offense, and you are required by law to give this information. And lastly, to report the accident to a police station, reasonable time, within 24 hours. And one thing I want to say again, that if you come upon a police officer on duty and you report an accident, it can be considered under the law as that you reported it to the station.
Oh.
Okay? So once the information reaches the police, it's considered to be reported.
And ensure that you know the officer that you speak with so that you
Yes.
can make reference to him or her.
Yes.
So, Constable Dibala, it was a pleasure. And final question for you. What is your stint, your time of service as a traffic officer?
I'm presently attached to the traffic department for the past 27 years.
Okay.
27 years.
It has to be experience, not just knowledge, but experience would also bring out the quality. Listeners, certainly that's not all of the program, but because of time, so we would have to reschedule another program with Constable Dibala as we look at motor vehicle accident management. I know it is important and that this information reach out to you, and certainly we are trying our best. The next time we have Constable Dibala in studio, we will open the lines because I hear those little questions asking, but this morning was just a time to disseminate information. So God bless you. Thank you so much, Constable Dibala.
Thank you
And
too.
to the management and staff of Real FM, it is yet another privilege to be in studio. God bless you. I wish you all best of health and wealth with strength as we continue to partner together to make our country the safest place. Bear in mind that we need to be each other's keeper and we need to look out for one another. I am your humble servant, Corporal 85 Grant. God bless you. Have a blessed week. Until next Wednesday, the conversation with the
that guilty of police brutality against me. The brutal society brutal. Oh gosh, the brutal. My society brutal.
Now more than ever, Flow is working hard to keep you connected to the things that matter most: your family, your work, and your favorite entertainment.
Triple N. Informative, entertaining, and first. Every hour on the hour.
This is the latest news update from the Northern News Network. Details come shortly.
Northern News Network. First in